Congratulations with your documentary, Life After. And I feel like it's not always where I get to see a director become part of a documentary. And if anything, that makes it more wholesome and giving us another perspective.
Yeah, I don't think that was our original plan. I had done very intimately personal films before. Uh, Directly before this, I did a film called I Didn't See You There, which was really personal. So I was really looking forward to kind of taking a step back and telling a story that wasn't about me, but I think we soon realized that we needed a kind of conduit between the audience and the subject matter, as well as kind of preparing the audience to really entertain the disabled perspective that we were offering by by putting myself out there as a guide.
And Colleen, you're a producer, but I feel like you are you guys friends? Because you guys' dynamic is just so natural.
Well, they say that making a film together, you need to build your team as if you're building a marriage because you're in it for so long. But we have, I am really grateful for the friendship that Reid and I have built over the past 5 years. And part of the reason I'm also in the film is because our editor really liked our buddy dynamic and felt that added some levity in a film that really needed it. So that's the only reason I'm on screen is because our editor wanted me to be. But it is sweet to see us, and I hope it is sort of helpful for audience members to see you know, Reid as a disabled director, me as a non-disabled producer, work through the really complex implications of the questions we're grappling with on screen together and to sort of feel able to go on a journey and change their mind alongside us as we're also sort of navigating our feelings about the stakes of these questions.
Okay, so many reasons to want to be a part of this. So what was your reason?
Well, I knew that I wanted to produce this film. One, because of Reid. Reid is such a talented artist and a really incredible thinker, and I knew I wanted to be in conversation with him about these questions about autonomy and dignity and disability justice. And the other reason is that I saw a real opportunity for this film because of the ways that my own perspective was expanded exponentially in asking myself what my values are and how those line up around questions of disability justice or don't. And so I really had a big perspective shift just learning about this issue and challenging my own beliefs about what true autonomy really looks like in society. And so I thought there was an opportunity to share that with other audiences, and that's not always the case with documentaries. Sometimes you're preaching to the choir, sometimes you're but with this film, we really have a chance to embrace and enroll a large variety of audiences around these questions to think for themselves how they're applicable in their own lives and politics and values and commitments in this moment.
Right, you take us through this journey evolving around Elizabeth's life. And with us, as I was watching the documentary with you, at the entire time I was looking forward to seeing what happened with her. So tell me about working with this project for so long and living your life around Elizabeth for so long.
In a lot of ways, this film is about the myth of Elizabeth and what became of her. And I also think not to completely make an avatar out of her, but kind of her story is the story of so many people. And it's hard not to think of all that's happening right now with Medicaid and a big beautiful bill, big ugly bill, whatever you want to call it. Um, her story is as resonant as ever. Her survival, her experience, her lack of opportunity, her choice, her defeats of, I think, experience by so many disabled people. And um, I think with these developments coming out of DC, it's going to be an uphill battle for a lot of people. Um, in the same way it was for Elizabeth. Um, especially with um the private sector not hiring disabled people while the public sector legislates them into poverty. So, a lot of the same and maybe going down a slippery slope here.
And you touch an important thing about the funds and how they're not all there for a lot of people that are disabled to
Well,
help.
they're out there, but they just don't get them.
Yeah,
They're in the tax savings of billionaires.
yeah, yeah, that's tough. And I love how that your documentary you're bringing that to light. Something that a lot of us, well, I had no idea how they're mistreated. They're not getting all the help they need. Like in Canada, you had one of the subjects, only a couple hours of assistance. What does that do? 8 hours a week?
Right, uh, yeah, it speaks for itself.
Yeah. So can you tell me about bringing in Elizabeth's sisters? And out of curiosity, did you try to reach to her former husband, Richard?
Um, do we included everything in the film that we wanted to, but I think regarding her sisters, um, the it was a big win to get a hold of them and to interview them and for them to be able to tell their story with such bravery and vulnerability. It's really hard to imagine the film without them. I think after I spoke with them for the first time, Elizabeth really became more than one dimension. We were used to seeing her struggling in court or being handed by the press, and for the first time, we got to see a more dynamic picture of Elizabeth, and we needed that for the film.
Colleen, were you around when the sisters were interviewed?
Yep. Yeah, it was, as Reed said, it was a big win, both for the story that we were able to tell and the sort of the details and the vibrancy of the picture that emerged of Elizabeth's lives, and also because it was a huge deal that they came around to trusting us with Elizabeth's story after she had been treated so problematically and poorly in the media, and they had a lot of trauma from that, of seeing their sister sort of not treated as a full human in the sensationalist media coverage, and the way that ableism was so insidious in that portrayal. So it took a lot for a number of reasons for them to come around and trust us, and we're really grateful that they did, that they trusted Reid and his perspective and voice in caring for Elizabeth's legacy in this way, and they've voiced that to us in a way that feels really rewarding. So
Yeah, as watching, I was just like in suspense, like, is the other sister going to be willing to talk? And I mean, they shared a lot and very intimately, and even some of the writing words of Elizabeth. Can you tell me your experience of hearing that live in that moment?
It was probably the kind of climax of making this film. I don't think that's a hyperbole. Uh, we didn't know what these words were, and after researching um, and investigating the life of Elizabeth for years, we have, her own words, what the thesis of the film was, what we suspected, which was that she was not seeking to end her life because of her body. She was seeking to end her life because of the bureaucracy that she was stuck in. So having Teresa read those words was jaw dropping and again kind of validation for making this film and trying to reframe Elizabeth's life.
Colleen, your experience?
Yeah, same. Just as powerful. I don't know that I have anything else to add. It was such a synthesis of the sort of like thesis that deep down was driving our desire to make this film, and we were connecting a lot of seemingly disparate stories and cases in order to help people see the forest for the trees, if that's the right use of that phrase. But and so it really, when it came with such succinctness from Elizabeth's own writings, that it's the indignity and the violence of bureaucracy and the abandonment of systems of care, in exchange for tax breaks for the wealthy. Essentially, she didn't put that in her writing, but it's just the epitome of what we're living through this week and these months. It felt vindicating for sure.
Another subject that you had was Melissa and sharing the story of her husband. And what she says that it's covered pretty much like the decision of like anything with her husband. It's a calculated decision. You know, that part itself, that just those two words is really sad when it comes to someone's life.
Yeah, and I think, again, not to harp on this, but I mean, you can't see it any more clearly than what is happening right now. 17 million Americans will lose their health care. Undoubtedly, people will die, people will go homeless because of this bill. It's a calculated decision in order to be um politically rewarded in order to be in order to financially advantage the wealthy. We are sacrificing so many people.
I have to admit, I did tear up when she was talking about her husband and how, they didn't notify her about his
Yeah,
death till the next day. It's sometimes, we look up to the people in the medical field, but sometimes we question some of the actions and words.
indeed. I am, as a disabled person and as a person who has worked at this field, I am highly skeptical of the medical field and the automatic authority that we give them. They are humans, and I would say there is a disproportionate amount of ableism within the medical field.
So what's the real definition of a life with dignity? Like, can you talk a little bit about your personal definition of it in this case for the documentary?
Well, I think dignity is usually a projection. When we're talking about disabled people, it's usually a projection by non-disabled people, and non-disabled people kind of agree on the parameters of dignity. But I really think it has become too stringent. It excludes a different lives. I think everybody has a different life. Everyone who's breathing has a different life. Everyone who exists has values, or I think this whole subjectivity around dignity is really a farce, and we need to move away from it.
I think the problematic framing of dignity that is like so implicit in so many and across our culture basically, and a lot of the implicit biases that non-disabled people have is that what constitutes dignity for disabled people is sometimes is like the idea that ending their life is the dignified option. It's brave, it's inspiring, and that's so it's like really sickening. Every, as Reid said, like every person inherently has dignity that can't be taken away. And then there's also sort of the other like the ways that dignity that we uphold each other's dignity in society is by making sure that people have what they need to thrive and to survive at the very minimum, and we're not doing that. And so that's while every person has inherent worth and dignity, we're not upholding that collectively as a society. And so that's, I think we need to insist on each other's dignity by putting our money where our mouth is.
Well, thank you both for your time and congratulations with your documentary, Life After.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.